Okay, guys, um, this is my post for spiritual disciplines. My definition of a spiritual discipline is they're like the tools that we use to become transformed or to become more Christ like. Um, According to Foster, our motivation has to be pure. We have to want to become more Christ like. According to Foster, or quote, he says, we must long for God. Um, And I like the way Willard puts it that spiritual discipline is more like a process. It's like a journey that we're on, and the tools, all these tools that are that you can name: prayer, scripture, fasting, hymns, everything that you can name that's a spiritual discipline is a process. It's more like a journey. It's not like you can go through all of these disciplines and check them off and then be done. You're never really done. We spend our lives. It's the journey that is it's what life's all about. It's not the finished product. To me, inward disciplines would be like, well, these could all go both ways as far as I'm concerned. An inward discipline could be like prayer, personal prayer, and fasting. But then again, prayer and fasting can be a corporate and could be an outward discipline. Scripture reading can be an inward or also an outward or a corporate discipline as far as I'm concerned. I think definitely something I think is a spiritual discipline because it's an act of faith is paying tithes and offerings. So that's an outward discipline. But there again, that's a good example of your motive has to be pure. If you pay tithing to the church or you pay offerings to the church, but you resent the money, you've got a bad feeling about the money, you resent having to pay it. It's as if you didn't pay it at all. It's not the money, and it's not the amount of money. It's the feeling behind the money um, and the act of obedience that uh, transforms us. How often do I practice? Where was I first exposed? Does my church practice? I'm going to talk about fasting and testimonies, and that's going to answer a lot of these next three or four questions. In my denomination, every first Sunday of the month, all over the world, since the beginning of the church, our church anyway, every first Sunday of the month is called Fast and Testimony Meeting. And on that Sunday, your members are instructed to fast for at least 2 meals, if not more, and take that money that you would have spent on those meals and donate that money to the church. And that's not tithing. That's called fast offering. You pay a fast offering on Fast Sunday, and that money goes directly to help feed the poor in your area. It's not for building buildings or anything like that. It's to help feed the poor, the hungry. So every first Sunday of the month, as people who have health issues or young children or pregnant mothers aren't necessarily encouraged to fast unless they can, and people are also um, fasting is to abstain from food and water. But if you have to take medication and stuff, it's all very, um, don't be crazy about it. But Fast Sunday, I think, is an inward sign of a spiritual discipline because if you're fasting for something personal, or even if you're fasting for a group with a group, you're to begin your fast and end your fast with a prayer. So that's an inward discipline. You pay fast offering to the church. Uh, I think that's an outward sign of a spiritual discipline. And then in our meeting, instead of having a sermon or any sort of lesson in the meeting in our sacrament meeting, we have what's called testimony meeting, and it's a lot like the Quakers who have Silent Sunday, and they sit in silence until they feel moved to speak, and they stand and speak, about things about God or their faith. That's exactly what we do. We sit in silence and we only stand when we feel moved to stand, and we bear our testimony. That's why it's called testimony meeting. So, bearing your testimony, sharing your testimony, is a spiritual discipline, and that would be a corporate or an outward sign because we're doing it as a congregation. And some Sundays you might sit in some fast Sundays you might sit for quite a while waiting for somebody to get up and speak, which that isn't because I've done it all my life. It's not awkward. Sometimes the peace and the silence is the best part of the meeting. And then, of course, when people share their testimonies, that's strengthening one another. So I was exposed to that sort of activity from a very young age, and I've been exposed to it all my life. My church has always done this, and we do it the first Sunday of every month. So fast and testimony meeting is a spiritual discipline that answers a lot of those questions. I think as far as what this assignment has made me think of, because fasting and fast and testimony meeting at churches is the obvious answer to these questions, to fill this assignment. But to go a step further about what I do personally is what this assignment has kind of made me think about. Now, our family sometimes, now, besides fasting as a group on first Sundays, you can fast whenever you want for any sort of thing you want. A lot of times within our own family, I'll get a call or a text from my mother or from my sister, and there'll be something going on. Grandma's going in for surgery or some procedure on Thursday, and we're all, meaning the whole family, is going to fast that day for that one single purpose. That's a personal spiritual discipline that we practice as a family, or anything else that's going on in our family's life that we want to rally and show support and maybe draw on the powers of heaven at that time to help someone who's facing an important exam or in college, in their career, or a family issue or problem, or health issue or problem. But more than that, on my own, I've fasted before for my own issues, or just to be more spiritual, to be when you fast and abstain from food, it what's the word? It kind of clears your head. It brings you to a different spiritual place. So the things that this assignment has really made me think about is the other disciplines that maybe I should be giving more attention to that don't happen automatically for me. My personal prayers can always use improvement. My personal scripture study. Our lives are so busy. When do I find that quiet time for that pensive meditation and strength that we get from reading our scriptures? And now that we've started class again, online class, for me it's important to address our lessons and our posts on a regular daily basis in order to get stuff out of, to get the most out of our class and our time together, and to be productive. So that's kind of my goal as we enter this class or this new online course together, is to be more organized and to be more in tune. And the more in tune I am with my own spirit, the more in tune I am to the things that you guys share, which is huge. I really appreciate the stuff that you guys share. It means a lot to me. So I'm looking forward to that this semester. I'm going to bed. Good night. That's all I got.